What's going on, everyone? It is Yasmin Woodland, aka Yasmin TV, and I hope everyone is having a blessed day today. So I wanted to weigh in on this Johnathan Majors situation. Everybody has been going kind of crazy all over the internet today with this news. So Johnathan Majors has been found guilty on 2 domestic charges. There were actually 4 total, but he was only found guilty on 2 out of the 4. So he was found guilty on counts 2 and 4, but on 1 and 3 he was not. So a lot of people just have a lot to say. Listen to this news clip and I'll be right back.
New York criminal case, which stems, of course, from a domestic incident with his former girlfriend.
Yeah, Majors is best known for his roles in Marvel films and TV shows, along with Creed 3. CNN's Elizabeth Wagmeister joins us now, along with CNN legal analyst Joey Jackson. Elizabeth, first to you, what can you tell us about what he's been found guilty of?
So Johnathan Majors was found guilty on some charges stemming from this domestic dispute. Now, this all stems from an incident that occurred in March of this year between Johnathan Majors and his ex-girlfriend, Grace Jabari. They were in a car, and evidence that was released during the trial showed them outside of the car. Now, what Grace Jabari alleged is that Johnathan Majors struck her in the head, also on her arm. There was a doctor who testified during the trial that said that she had a fracture on her finger. So he has been found on 1 count of assault and another with harassment, and was acquitted on 2 other charges.
And Joey, you're following this. What's your reaction to this verdict?
So the reaction is that the jury had a lot to evaluate, and by finding guilty on some charges and not the others, it means that in evaluating the testimony, Brianna and Bars, that there were some things that the jury credited and other things that they did not. It appears as though there was a guilty finding on what's called reckless assault. Well, what is that? There's a distinction between intentional assault, which means that it was your intent, it was your goal, it was your aim, it was your objective to assault, versus reckless. Reckless is the conscious disregard. It means the jury didn't make a finding that was intentional, but it was sufficiently reckless, right, such that the jury made a finding as to that. The jury also made a finding as to harassment, which is not a crime. It's simply a violation. A violation of law means that it doesn't rise to the level of a criminal offense. And just in terms of clarifying the parlance, a misdemeanor offense in New York State is an offense that is punishable by up to a year in jail, a violation punishable by up to 15 days. And so that's what the judge will have to, sentencing, evaluate whether there's any time at all that is going to be imposed. But that would be certainly the parameters of any sentencing. Not there yet, but when we get there, what he'll be facing.
Elizabeth, it's not just the sentencing that he's facing, but also a huge fall in grace and in his reputation as a Hollywood star. Take us through his story, because he was rapidly becoming a household name.
Absolutely. And the fact that he was found guilty on some charges, no matter what he is sentenced to or not, as Jesse said, you're absolutely correct that now there is going to be some sort of fall from grace. Now, not everybody at home may know who Johnathan Majors is, but he was on his way to becoming an A-list star. Had he not been on trial right now, he would likely be campaigning for an Oscar. Earlier this year at the Sundance Film Festival, he had a film debut called Magazine Dreams. It got rave reviews. He could have been on the Oscar campaign for that. Now, perhaps even more important, he was cast as basically the future star of Marvel's next phase. He was cast as the character called Kang, who is a villain. He had already made his debut in this character, but had not yet debuted in his own film. Marvel was anchoring 2 films around him. We know that these movies can each make upwards of $1 billion, even $2 billion for one of the most recent Avengers films. So now Disney has a big decision to make. Do they keep him? Do they not? With 2 guilty charges, that is going to be very difficult. And I have to tell you, prior to getting this verdict in, I spoke to my sources, and people in the industry are saying no matter what the verdict was, this is hard for a company, particularly like Disney, which is family friendly, to keep someone who has been accused and now found guilty of these charges.
Yeah, very good point.
So you all just heard that news clip involving Johnathan Majors and the fact that he was actually found guilty for not only harassment but reckless assault which led to the fracture of his ex-girlfriend's finger, along with some marks and bruises. So allegedly he's been actually dropped from Marvel, everybody. That's what the news outlets are saying. They're saying that he's dropped from Marvel. Marvel has like officially severed ties with him. They don't want anything to really do with him since this guilty conviction. So as we all know, in the media, we've been seeing him and Megan Good. Megan Good has been alongside him throughout this entire process, going to like his court hearings, his court dates. I wonder how she feels. Megan Good has yet to speak out on this situation, but once again, I know she has been pretty much by his side the whole way through. And I think it's kind of like funny how, you know, he's going over there to Megan Good and he's dating her now. He's with her now. Now that he's in all this, you know, legal trouble, he needs someone strong to stand beside him as a woman. And now he wants to be with the other side. So I just kind of found that a little bit funny, because it seems like a lot of men in the industry, or just men in general, seem to run to like strong women when they're in a bunch of legal woes. You know, they just need someone strong to stand behind them, and like that's some sort of safety net. But one thing about this though, you can't escape from, you know, this guilty conviction. You can't escape from that. The other two charges, like, he was not found guilty on, but, you know, the other two is definitely directly affecting his career. So moving forward from that, I just feel like in his acting career, I don't really think he has longevity there. I don't know if he's able to redeem his reputation or to redeem himself from this, because this carries a lot of weight, y'all, because it's too much going on. I mean, you have the P. Diddy situation that's going on right now with what, you know, Cassie had came out. She initially filed her lawsuit for everything that was going on. Now, mind you, they settled a day later outside of the courts, and then she dropped her suit, but we still were able to obtain the court records and read what Diddy had did to her. So it's also a lot of other people coming out in the industry with their claims, their lawsuits and stuff, saying like, this person did this to me, this person did that to me. And I'm trying to tell you, no matter how much money you have or how much fame you have, it's always good to be a person with good character and a person with good self-control, because when you have a lot to lose, the last thing you want to do is put yourself in a situation to where your career is at risk, your money's at risk, your endorsements, your sponsorships, your connects in the industry, your entire career is at risk when you can't have self-control. Now, again, according to a lot of the documentation that they did look over in the courts that led to this actual conviction, she did have a fractured finger, and she did have bruises on her. It was some sort of dispute that happened inside of the car. And I just want to say this is just a learning lesson. I mean, I don't really know when this is going to stop. It just seems like violence and stuff is the first resort that a lot of men take when they're angry, upset, like they can't regulate their emotions. And I'm not saying that, you know, human beings are perfect or women are perfect. I'm not saying that, but I'm just saying it seems like, you know, when it comes to these men and relationships, when it comes to, you know, arguments, disagreements, I feel like they just have the lack of self-control. And the first thing they do when they lose their temper is they want to put hands on somebody. You know, they want to put hands on you. Again, I will always reference the P. Diddy case. Look at what he's going through. P. Diddy has lost so many supporters, endorsements, sponsorship. Sean John was taken off of, you know, like the shelves and Macy's, and then just certain deals that he had in line for himself. It's fallen through, and a lot of people are backing away from Diddy because of a lot of these claims and a lot of the lawsuits that's been stacked against him. So you have to be careful when you're in a position of power, or even when you just have a regular 9-to-5 job and that's your bread and butter and that's what you do to make sure food is on the table, clothes is on your back, and things are provided for. You just have to be careful to not be in situations and to, you know, pop off at any given second, or to be angry and upset and lose your temper and end up doing something that later can have long-lasting effects on your money, your career, your reputation. I mean, reputation does go a long way, believe it or not. Like, I know this isn't high school, but just in general, like now in the industry, a lot of people, they're not really going to want to work with him. You know, they're not going to want to really cast him for certain roles now. Certain things or contracts that he may have been up for or he may have secured and he didn't work the job yet, maybe they'll start pulling away too. Now that Marvel allegedly is backing out and saying, hey, you know, we don't want much to do with you. I mean, look at Draymond. He's knocking over people while he's playing in the NBA, and they indefinitely suspended him because of a lot of the anger and aggression and physical anger and aggression while he's playing. Like, you know, a lot of these people just seem like they just don't really have self-control when it comes to a lot of situations in their life. Now, a lot of people have been talking about his ex-girlfriend, saying that she's wrong for filing charges. It was just a money grab. And what I'm saying is, if there's proof that he really did something to that girl, then she absolutely did the right thing. I'm tired of hearing people say, oh, don't run to the police, and, trying to cover up for this person just because they're a star, or trying to cover up for this person just because they're famous, or trying to cover up for them just because they're rich. Like, you should not have to feel guilty for going to the police when somebody did something to you. Even if it was vice versa, and say, hypothetically speaking, she put hands on him or whatever the case may be, he has every right to go and do the same thing. File charges and file a restraining order and a lawsuit and move forward. That's everybody's right. Like, stop trying to protect these people who are clearly out of their emotions, clearly not in touch with reality, and who are doing people wrong. You know what I'm saying? You doing people wrong, and people still try to protect people like that. I just won't understand it, So that is the situation on this entire Johnathan Majors assault case. I really hope he can get the help he needs. And Megan Good, she honestly needs to separate herself away from this, because how could you even stand beside somebody that apparently did this to another woman? How could you stand because honestly, a person's going to tell you a side of the story that makes them look good. So he probably told Megan one thing, and she probably was just going along with it and believing it because she wasn't there to witness it. And then it came out in court like, no, she did have a fractured finger. She did have bruises and bumps and stuff like that on her skin. Something did happen. So it's like, how could you even stand beside somebody like that? I was shocked. Like, how do you go from being married and stuff like that to a pastor? Not saying they're perfect, but now you're standing beside someone who's been convicted of domestically abusing, this woman. How could you stand there as a strong black woman? That's what people like to say. How could you stand beside and support somebody like that? But if it was vice versa, you wouldn't see no strong black person standing beside you. That's very rare. So I really feel like she needs to reevaluate a few things. And if she doesn't want to be sucked into something that doesn't serve her, she needs to reevaluate who she's standing beside and who she's supporting. That's my opinion on Megan Good. So what do you all think about this situation on Johnathan Majors? Please drop a comment in the comment section below. I am Yasmin Woodland. Also, be sure to like, comment, and subscribe, and tap the bell so you'll get notifications on whenever I do upload. Until next time, see you.